It's time to upgrade my gear, and this week I'm building a NAS. Hi there fellow nerds, welcome back to Nelly's Nerd Cave, where I dive deep into the world of tech and gear upgrades that we all require. Today I'm embarking on a thrilling adventure as I tackle the creation of a NAS setup, and let me tell you, it's going to be epic. First, what's a NAS? Well, it's a set of hard drives that you can basically access from the network, hence its name, a network attached storage. Normally, these are quite small devices and easy to set up, but I wanted to be a bit more complicated and build my own. Then I can extend it to any size I like. Now let's break down the components that will bring this NAS to life. First up, I have these four particular drives here. These are enterprise hard drives, and these ones in particular are the HGST Western Digital UltraStar DC HC510s. These are 10 terabytes, 7,200 RPM and run at SATA 6. And they're perfect for storing all my data securely and efficiently. And to speed things up, I've got two of these crucial SSDs, which are boasting a whopping 2 terabytes of storage. I may use both as SSD cache that will help with speeds, or might separate them into two different jobs, one for caching, one for logging, maybe something like that. I'll have a look later. Next, what I've got is this particular board. This is the heart and soul of the NAS setup. This is an X99-8D4 from ZSUS, which is an Intel HM55 chipset. It has 6 USB 2 ports. It has one PCIe 16, one PCIe 1 and an M.2 slot. This motherboard will be paired with the Intel Xeon E5 2630 V4 CPU. This has 10 cores, it has 20 threads, and it has a whopping 20 meg of cache, and it can support 1.5 terabytes of RAM. It does, however, only have 1 gigabit Ethernet, which would not normally be very good within this type of environment. Something you would normally need is like 2.5 or 10 gigabits. But my network at the moment only runs at a gigabit. So at least it'll run full speed when it comes to data transfers, to say the least. These particular powerhouses will ensure smooth operation and lightning fast data transfers between the drives and everything else. So to go with this, I need to be able to cool this monster, and I will be using this AliExpress bought i1GO Hurricane X99 processor cooler. This has 6 heat pipes. It has 3 fans on this. When testing, it performed really well for a cooler that was only 13 English pounds. With this, I'll also be adding 2 sticks of DDR4. These are both ECC and they both run at 2133 MHz and have error correction as part of it. This should hopefully allow me to have some kind of data stability, as that's what this type of memory actually does. Basically what it does is it monitors the memory for errors, and it helps to protect the system against potential threats that could occur. The main idea behind this memory is that you actually have a separate 9th chip, which is your ECC. The function of this particular chip, which is normally in the middle, is that it is exclusively responsible for checking for errors, then correcting them before it commits that data to a long-term memory device such as a hard drive or an SSD. For the operating system, I'll be adding to this an NVMe drive, which you can see here. This is 256 gigabytes. It's a Samsung drive. This particular drive is predominantly for slimline notebooks, etc. Bought this off Facebook Marketplace for about £7. It has a read speed of 3100 megabytes per second and a write speed of 1300 megabytes per second. And with this being a NAS, for the data and the operating system, it's a lot better because all you're going to be doing is reading from this drive. And finally, for the components, I'll be using a riser card, and here's the riser card, and this has the capability of changing the PCI X1 slot into 6 SATA drives. These are so that I can enable it to go up to at least 8 drives if I want to. To accommodate all this hardware, I'm using this case, which I picked up off Facebook Marketplace for £5. This is the Antec 302. It is a little beat up, but it does have 2 adjustable fans, and it has 2 switches on the back of the case, and it has room for more drives and mounting places for 2.5-inch SSDs as well. So everything should fit nicely within this case. Now, I would normally add the drives to the bays at the bottom of this case, which you could normally do with the included caddies that come with it. But what I've decided to do is I've decided that I want to cool my drives for optimum performance. So I'm adding this 3-bay 5 1/4 to a 5-slot 3.5 adapter. And on the front, it has a fan. This was just a fan I had kicking around, and I thought, what the hell, it has a Molex connector on it, so it should be good for powering, as well as keeping the devices cool. It is red, but I'm not bothered about the colour at this point. Now, let's get down to business and start assembling my NAS setup. With careful precision and attention to detail, I'll ensure that each individual component is in its rightful place, ready to unleash its full potential. Okay, so here we go with the build. First of all, let's get rid of the motherboard. I'm not going to be using that just yet. I'm going to start with this, which is the small caddy, which changes 3 5 1/4 bays into 5 3.5-inch bays. It comes with all of these little bits as well. These are the sleds for the drives, and all you do is put them into the holes, he says, putting them the wrong way around, like this, and then sliding that drive into its bay till it clicks. And we shall do that with each one. I'm going to be using these power cables because what I feel is that if I need to remove these, and I am using one of these daisy chains, then I'm going to have to unplug quite a lot of the drives just to get this to actually slide out nicely. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie wrap these together to make them nicer and tidy. Okay, so that's the drive now complete. Now what I need to do is I now need to get my case, which is here. Nice big case, but what you can also see is that you've got these drive bays here, which I can actually utilize, but this basically slides in the front. There we go, slid in and locked in place. Fantastic. So again, moving this to one side. Back to my motherboard now. Need to place this on top, but I also need to make sure that it's orientated in the right way. So the motherboard will be this way round in the case, with the I/O shield this way. What I need to do is make sure that the fans are exhausting out the back, so it goes on that way. But before I do that, I need to put thermal paste on here. Okay, so what I now need is thermal paste, and we can put a, I like to make sure I've got plenty on, especially since this is going to be a 24/7 server. Again, making sure it's orientated in the right direction, so airflow this direction, which means this is the back of the fan, this is the front of the fan. I then have to clip this side on first, then this side on after, and it fits underneath into a little clip like so. And then I put that on till it clicks, like that. And then on this side, we have one called CPU fan, or C fan, which I then pop that on there. And that's my CPU fan installed, ready to go. And we're ready to stick this in our case. So you can see we've got a couple of fans at the top. And what I'm going to do is first of all, I'm going to get the back plate out of the box, because you need to make sure that you have this. And a trick with this is to make sure that's bent up, because that's your network. These go at the bottom, and then we clip it in to the case. It should just fit in nicely. They're all a standard size. Some of these motherboards come without, some of them come with. Already fitted. Let's see, can I get this in without the sacrificial blood sacrifice that I normally have to make with these things? There we go. That's my I/O shield. Now we can slide the board in, etc. That's good, but as you can see, I can't actually get to the power down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this. I'm then going to get my supplemental power and move it to the right place, because it was at the wrong side. And then in we go like so. Now I need 4 screws. Now these screws tend to be case screws. I also need my long screwdriver, and I need to make sure that each one of these is screwed in to the correct hole, so that we have the right amount of screws in, so that nothing falls down or anything like that. That one seemed very slack. Let's try a case screw. So because this is quite an old case, this screws actually follow the older standards, which was using case screws for your case fans, for your mounting points. But we just need to make sure all these are in properly, all these are in the correct places, and they're all as tight as can be. Okay, so now I can plug in power. Now I've finally got that in there, so I can plug supplementary power into the board. It's a good job it's only one way. Tie these wires up a little bit, like so. Maybe tie those two together. Yeah, it might cause me a few issues later on in the line, but this will make it far tidier. Give it some decent airflow. There we go. Right, so that is the main pieces. Next, what I need to do is I need to get my SSDs in. Now there's one that sits at the bottom of this down here, so I will need 4 screws for that. Is plan out where all my cabling is going to go. So this is my ATX power, so that needs to go here, like that. Then I have USB 3, never know when that's going to come in handy. This is sound, Not that I'm going to need sound on a NAS drive, but it's good so that that cable don't be flapping around. Excellent. And then this final one is actually my power, etc. By the looks of it, I've got a fan header just here, so I can put the fan for the drives into that lovely header just there. Nicely. That's good. And now I need to figure out which ones are which as far as plugging in the power cables. So according to the instruction manual, which is here, always consult the instructions if you're not sure. The power switch goes to the top. And it's power LED with a plus and a negative. Which one's the plus? The positive is the outer one and the negative is the inner one. Like that. The hard drive LED again, the positive on the outside, on the lower one that's part of the, that's below the LED, then the reset switch below the power switch. Brilliant. So that's all those in. Excuse me. So now let's put an SSD on and see where we can get that plugged in. So that needs to go there. So I need to make sure that power is connected and that I have a SATA socket or SATA cable gone, so I can plug my SATA cable in. These ones are nice ones because they lock. Let me, so that's, there we go. Yep, so brilliant. So this one can go on there like so. And then what I'll do is I will get this all lined up. There we go. That is my SATA just going in nicely. Now the other SATA is going to have to go on the back, but for now what I'll look at is cable routing. So I need 4 for here for power. So that's 1, 2, 3, and nearly 4. And 4 power cables. A little bit of ketchup and mustard there, but it's nothing to worry about. I then need one of these for the rear SATA, so that can go up the back like so. And then what I'm doing is I'm color coding all my connections. So I have these SATA cables here. These are blue, these are for my data. Black one for SATA. So I need 4 of these. And then all I need to do is get these connected. And I like to be very methodical with what I'm doing. So that's drive 1 and 2. Before I do any more, this is my SATA controller. SATA 1 and 2 are here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 3 and 4 first. So I'm going to do 3, sorry, that's number 4, because that's the second drive. Then number 3 for the first drive, like so. Then what I'll do is I'll plug the next one in. And this one will go into 5. And then finally, this one will go into 6. Now what am I going to use the other two for? I hear you all cry. Well, my SATAs, the one here is going to go into SSD is going to be into number 1, and then the other SSD is going to be on another SATA cable. Which I haven't got. Now this one's a red one and it's slightly longer so that you can get around the back. So again, before I plug this expansion card in, plug that in there. And what I'll do is I'll plug this into the bottom slot here. Oh no, I've got a small issue, and that is that the USB 3 is in the way. So let me just unplug that and let me see if this fits. So this is a 90-degree USB 3. So that should now go back in there as a low profile socket so that I can now get, yay, my SATA adapter in. Fantastic. Let's get a screw for that top bit. And then finally, I can feed this underneath all of these cables here and feed it through here so that it goes to the other SSD. Fantastic. Let's now neaten all this up so that it all makes a bit of sense. And you can see that this case is wonderfully damaged, but it doesn't matter for my purpose. I am going to literally have this in a room, and it's just going to be a basic server room. So now what I need to do is I now need to mount this drive here. That way then I have my other SSD, and what I'll do is I'll thread this under here so that it looks tidier. Fantastic. And this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extension to, yeah, that should be fine. Fantastic. So let's get them plugged in. And I shall attach that and get that all ready so that you can see that nicely. And then when I next join you, we will be powering on. Oh my God, it's all built. Let's see if this thing powers on. Remember, the switch at the back is always the most important. And then we have lights, we have power, but I can hear all the drives powering up. So I've already loaded TrueNAS scale on here. So let's see if we can actually make this function, and I will cut to the screen so that we can commentate through, and you should be able to see that I go through and set up the entire array as I need it.
One eternity later.
Okay, so back, and that took a little while than I thought. This server actually needed a graphics card to allow it to function correctly, and after some trial and error, I managed to get that absolutely spot on. So here we are, in the login screen, awaiting to log in for what we need. So I type in my admin password, and then I click in to the login function. From here, this is my dashboard, and what I can see is my CPU usage. And as I said earlier, I got this wrong. This was an Intel 2650 V4, not a 2630. So I've got an extra 2 cores here, so 12 cores, 24 threads, instead of 10 cores, 20 threads. Here I got my network functionality, and then 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is there. So now what I need to do is I need to create a pool. So I go into my storage, I click create pool. For you people that work with VMware, you know where this name comes from. I call it data store. Then I can click next from this point. You'll see my drives there. From here I want to go to my data. Now I do have options here for Z pools, and you have a Z1. Basically means that you have one drive out of the 4 that's used for parity and error checking. You have RAID Z2, which uses 2 disks. So instead of 40 terabytes of drive space, you actually get 20 terabytes, but you get double the parity and double the redundancy. So let's remember that this is not a backup, this is redundancy. I'm going to click create Z1. Actually thinking about it, I'm probably going to select a Z2 array, basically so that then when I add more to it, I can quite easily add more space to this Z2 and still have double the amount of redundancy within that drive. From here I now click the disks, which are the 9.1 terabytes. That's the 10 terabyte drives. It has 4 drives, and then we go next. I can ignore this section because I don't need it. I don't have a spare yet, but I will in future. And then from here, this is my cache. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add my 2 terabyte SSDs here, and I'm going to add both of them as the cache function. That way I've got double the amount. So now it goes to next. We can ignore all this stuff, into the review, and then I can click create the pool. I then confirm it here, and then I click continue. This then takes a few moments just to get everything ready and all the drives linked and all the data functioning correctly. So here we are. Here is the pool that has now loaded and is now functioning, and you can see that there in the middle, usable capacity is 17.49 gigabytes. And I'm only using 1 gigabyte. So we're actually looking at nearly 20 terabytes of drive space. Next, I need to create a data set. So on the left, I can click the data sets function. Here, what I need to do is I need to create a data set that gives it a specific name where I can set my SMB share to this. So what I'm going to do is click here. Then I'm going to give it a name, and I'm just going to call it Nelly's Nerd Cave, and it won't allow anything with spaces, so I have to put underscores at this point. I can ignore the rest. I can scroll all the way down, and I can click save. So this has now created me a particular data set. The next thing I need to do is I now need to be able to go into the shares. Again, on the left, clicking on shares. You'll see that Windows SMB is already running. So we click add on the side. We select the path that we require. And I'm going to give it the name of Nerd Cave. Again with the underscore. When I click save, everything should go through. No, it doesn't. This is my mistake. This is because I haven't selected the actual folder structure, so I need to make sure it's data store, then click save. It then asks me to restart service. I click that, and then it restarts the SMB service so that it can then be functionally used as a storage system. From here, I should then be able to go into Windows, into the network, and there we go. I can see my true NAS machine. It asks me to log in, type in my admin password. Try it again. Why is it not working? Oh yeah, that's why. Because I need to go into credentials and I need to go to the local users, and you'll see that I've already set up a username, but what I haven't done is I haven't linked that person to the pool. So I go into edit, and what I can then do is I can change the password. So now I've changed my password. I'm going to add all the relevant permissions. And what I forgot to do is change the section at the top. So I confirm this, and then it's going to tell me that it's the wrong place. So I have to then select Nelly's Nerd Cave, then click save again and confirm, and then continue. It should then allow it, which it does. Fantastic. So now let's try getting into that share. I'll use my other password I've just changed. I can click OK, and there's the share. And now I have 17 terabytes of data that I can access here, and I can store everything on. Fantastic. If I map that drive, I now have it as part of my desktop. And there we go. That's the install complete. And there you have it, folks. Our NAS is already up and running, and it's ready to tackle any data storage challenge that's thrown its way. From media streaming to file backups, this little powerhouse will handle it all with ease. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's episode, and I hope you found this very informative. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell below for more nerdy content. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of tech. Bye.